So having done this for the last 11 years, we're often approached by families with the same question. And that's, they've been given that dementia diagnosis, they've been handed that leaflet and kind of like shoved out the door with good luck. So usually the questions tend to be the same thing. What do they do next? What do they even think about? Where do they go? Our clients are lucky enough to have that support from us, that we can guide them through it, but a lot of people out there don't have that. So really this book was created to help those that just don't know where to turn. Hopefully it's going to answer a lot of their questions.
So doing this for many years, obviously I like the fact that you have to think outside the box, come up with different solutions. I love researching about dementia. I've spent many years researching different things and helping people.
It started with your nan, didn't it? Because your nan had dementia.
Yeah, and that was years ago when people didn't really know anything about dementia, and I just find that a lot of people don't know how to deal with the challenges, and that's where we're good at coming up with different ideas, thinking outside the box.
Definitely a lack of support.
Yeah, they get their diagnosis, get given some leaflets, and then told very much to go out in the community and just get on with it. So they don't know who to turn to, who to ask any questions to. And yeah, there's a lot of information online, but it's trying to find it. And the feedback that we get from families is they're so busy trying to deal with the person with the dementia that they haven't got the time to physically be trying to find the information. So that's why we thought the book would be really useful something they can have to hand. I think quite a lot of healthcare professionals don't actually understand dementia and how it affects anybody. So, they don't always know what advice to give them, whereas we've been doing this for a long time. And as I've said before, we need to think outside the box. So, when somebody starts doing something and the family don't know how to deal with it, we've often either seen it before or we just put our heads together and think, right, okay, have you tried this, have you tried that?
Definitely to give them hope, really, to let them know that they're not in it alone. Once you get that diagnosis, it is just, you're in for a ride, putting it politely, with somebody with dementia. They start doing all sorts of things that they've never done before. So I'm hoping that the book will give them a bit of guidance, and just point them in the right direction, really.
It's about showing people that just because they've got a diagnosis of dementia doesn't mean you've got to wrap them up in cotton wool. You've got to work with them and help them still do the things they can do, make adaptations to the house, or maybe just put up simple signs with reminders, or use technology. So there's lots of ways you can help them to remain living at home for as long as they want to, isn't there?
So for me, I think really there's two really important steps. First one is to sort out, the financial aspect and your powers of attorney whilst your loved one still has the capacity to be able to be involved in those decisions. So who they want to help them make the decisions as that dementia progresses and they're no longer capable. And secondly, to get care in place early. So don't wait until you're at crisis point in, you're breaking down, or the partner of the person with dementia is breaking down. Get somebody in early, whether it's, to do a bit of cleaning, to, have a cup of tea and do a bit of companionship. It's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to increase that care when the time comes, because it's inevitable that it's going to come. You're going to need some help. The sooner you do it, the more accepting they're going to be of it, because they're already used to having someone.
So I think decluttering the home makes a real big difference. So if you take away lots of items, so imagine, say, in their wardrobe, clothing, if you reduce their clothes down, when they open their wardrobe on the morning, they've got fewer clothes to look at, so there's a lot less confusing for them. And if you take things maybe out of the kitchen they don't use very often, so they only have the items they're likely to use, it just makes life a lot easier
I personally and my family have got, like, you know, my nan, for example, she's on her iPhone, she can do FaceTime, she's got like an iWatch and things like that. So we're already introducing technology. Should she, you know, God forbid, ever have dementia, we can use the technology around us that she already knows how to use. It's not going to be so difficult. Understanding it means that you understand what you're entitled to, especially if you are trying to organise care or funding through the council. You can push back and be like, well, actually, no, under the Care Act, it is XYZ, you're not fulfilling those needs, so can we have a review?
So don't try to do everything yourself. Don't be afraid to call on family and friends, neighbours even, to help you out. Organise care as early as possible, even if it's just one visit a week, just so that they get used to somebody who's not family coming in. And don't be afraid to ask for help, and you need time off. You need to have that break and look after yourself as well, otherwise you'll get burnt out.
So this has actually been in the pipeline for 2 years. Tina researched everything to go into the book. I then put it together, designed it. Tina's an absolute research queen. The amount of research that went into this book and the size of the document she gave me for me to then try and somehow make it into a document that would make sense to other people. No, I think, obviously, as I said, Tina provided most of the research. It was just really nice to see it come together. Like, we had a vision, so really just seeing that, I'd say on paper, but it's an ebook, so on screen. And, you know, if we can just help one person just from, you know, what they managed to read in that book, then I guess we've achieved the goal we set out to. I was actually shocked at the number of people diagnosed in the UK with dementia. I know it was going to be a high number, but I couldn't believe that there are 1 million people diagnosed, let alone like even our clients that we know are undiagnosed. So I can't even begin to imagine the true number of people living in the UK alone just with dementia. I think that blew my mind the most.
Yeah, and I think there's probably a lot of people that families often think, I'm sure mum or dad's got dementia, but they haven't got a diagnosis. So this book might help them before they even get a diagnosis. So most families have no idea what to expect when somebody gets diagnosed with dementia, and they don't realise the immense strain it's going to put on family relationships, often because they might still be working, they might have grandchildren, so they're trying to deal with everything going on in their own life, plus trying to deal with their parent or loved one that's got dementia. So it's really difficult and they really struggle, and that's where they need to then reach out and get somebody else to help them.
Breathe and download our ebook. No, in all seriousness though, like, just educate yourself, I think, is the main one. Understand your rights and learn about what dementia actually is, because a lot of people just think it's bad memory. It is so much more than that. It completely changes behaviours, personalities. So go and educate yourself, understand the diagnosis, the condition.
Families do tend to feel that their loved one's life is over, really, once they've got the dementia diagnosis, which I totally disagree with. People can live very well for a long time independently at home. You just need to make changes to their home and maybe help them change their routine, get things implemented, and then they can remain living at home for as long as they're safe.
So the most common question we get definitely is, what do I do now? And, you know, a dementia diagnosis is life-changing. And, you know, sadly, there just isn't the support and resources out there available to people. You know, the NHS is struggling, GPs are struggling. But yeah, this book really was designed to help people understand what the dementia diagnosis is, things to think about in terms of care, you know, what to think about finances, wills, all sorts of things. We've tried to cover it as a basic introduction, how to make the home safe, you know, things to think about when, you know, creating routines for people, because you know those are so important for people with dementia.
Or families don't know what they can claim for, what benefits are entitled to. I've been shocked by the number of people that don't realise they can claim attendance allowance and things like that. You know, if you say to them, they say, what's that, or how do I do it? So all this information is in the book, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think the main one is something that Tina touched on earlier. People can still do things. You know, everybody thinks that you need to wrap them up in bubble wrap. They just need to have the right level of support. You know, they can still make sandwiches, they can still make hot drinks, but they just need a bit of supervision and maybe a bit of help and a bit of guidance.
So putting things in place, like we said before, decluttering. So if you remove things in the kitchen so they can only see the items they're going to use, will make their life a lot easier. It's just little things.
The biggest misconception is definitely that, is that they can no longer do anything. They can't live
or
at
they
home
can't live at home on their own anymore, and that's totally
They need
wrong.
to go straight into a care home. Absolutely not.
No, they'll be absolutely fine, as long as maybe, you know, some people you do need to get the gas cooker disconnected because they might not be safe with the gas cooker, but that don't mean to say they need to go in a care home. It just means you need to look at other ways for them to have a hot meal. Because I feel they're an amazing charity. They obviously do a lot of work, a lot of research, and really wanted to be able to help as much as we can. So we thought any money we can give to them will help them further continue their research, and hopefully one day they might come up with a cure.
And we would love to be able to help as many people as possible. So for us, by writing this book is one way, but another way, by making donations to the Alzheimer Society. Obviously they can do way more than we could possibly ever do. So hopefully, you know, by making our donation, that's going to help more research, more families, more community, because they run a lot of clubs and things. So hopefully our book can help fund that.